Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Grounded, where you get real life topics from a biblical perspective. My name is Brian Boyd. Tonight's topic is perfection. And everyone, as always, I pray you had an amazing week. And before we dive to this episode, please be sure to like and follow the Grounded Podcast, or whatever platform you happen to be listening on. And with that being said, y'all, let's talk tonight about perfection. And this is something, it's more or less a continuation from last week's episode on failure. And if you haven't checked that out, I basically talked about how in life, one of the things that a lot of us don't want to do is fail. And in some situations, we'll do any and everything that we can to try to avoid failure and the feelings that are associated with it. And the same thing, I think, from a deeper level, the reason why we don't necessarily want to fail is because at the pinnacle of everything, we want to be perfect. We don't want to necessarily make mistakes. We don't necessarily want to have the downsides of what would happen if we messed up. We don't want to have guilt associated with decisions that we wish we could have made. And that's all because at the end of the day, we want to do everything right. We want to be right. We want to be able to succeed because no one likes to fail. And with that being said, one of the things that I've learned just with failure is that perfection is also the same way. We were created in the image of God, but because of the existence of sin in our world, there's no way that we can be perfect. And even when you look at our faith, God doesn't want perfect people. He just wants people that are willing to try their best and to keep getting up no matter how many times they may fall or stumble. And just looking at that and just being transparent, there have been so many times in my life where I have stumbled. I have done so many things. There were things that I wish I could go back and do. There were things I wish I could change. There were decisions that I wish I could have made differently. And even when it comes to stuff like such as filming episodes like this, there are times where I wish I could go back and say different things and to help the show just be better overall. But the thing about this is that life in itself is truly a learning process. And no matter how good we may be at something, even if it's something that we've done for a while, there's still going to be instances where we're going to make mistakes. There's always going to be room for improvement. And the thing to understand there is that when you have these things and when you make these mistakes, that you shouldn't beat yourself up about it, but instead you should just take it as part of the process, enjoy the journey, and just enjoy where you're going in the place that God is taking you, because that's how you have true peace in this world. And that's how you overcome the situations of anxiety and depression. But to talk about this a little bit further, y'all, tonight I'm going to be covering a popular verse of scripture, and that is James 1:4. And it reads that, "And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." And the first piece that I want to look at is the first part of this verse, and it reads that, "And let steadfastness have its full effect." Once again, and to look at this, I want to really observe the word steadfastness, because it is defined, biblically speaking, as patience and endurance. And what James is saying here is that you want steadfastness to have its full effect. And that simply means is that when you're in these situations where you're faced with these challenges, or when you're trying something new, or you're going in a different direction, be patient with the journey as it goes, because this is something that's always going to take a long period of time. It doesn't matter where you're in, no matter what field you're in, no matter what actions that you're taking. And when you understand that these things are truly a process, then you're able to have peace over the situation, even if you happen to mess up. You may mess up, but you realize that, yes, you could do better, but you don't beat yourself up because you messed up. You're no longer feeling guilty because you messed up. You're no longer feel bad because there were decisions that you could have made that were better, but yet you acknowledge the things that you've done. You accepted yourself for it. You've forgiven yourself for doing those things, and you're able to keep moving forward no matter what. And y'all, from personal experience, I have been through this so many times in my life, because I was this person at one point, and to some extent, I still am. I still go through times where I wish I made better decisions with the stuff that I'm doing. I wish I would have known better before diving into certain things. But the thing about that is that you have to understand that there's never going to be a point in life where you're going to know everything. There's never going to be a point where you may always do the right thing. There are always going to be more things that you could do to get better. There are going to be more actions that you could take. There are going to be more things that you could know. But the peace in that is just knowing that whenever you do mess up, whenever you don't do as good as you think that you should do, that is not the end of the world. And when you're able to truly accept those things as they are, and then just use the lessons that you have from that situation to get better the next time. It gives you peace over that full situation. And that is what it means to have patience and perseverance in full effect. And moving on, we have that patience and steadfastness because in the second piece of this, it says that we do this so that we may be perfect and complete. And looking at the word perfect here, the original definition, biblically speaking, is being mature. And when you look at perfection in the actual dictionary, it has this connotation that perfection means flawlessness. It means that you have no mistakes. That everything that you do is right. Every action that you take is right. Every step that you take and direction that you're moving in is correct. And you are without error. But the thing that the Bible tells us and the Bible defines as perfect is being mature. And when you think about mature, these are things that and experiences that as over time, as you grow and develop, you start to get more knowledgeable, you start to get more structured, and you start to get more grounded, no pun intended, in whatever it is that you're doing. And we do so, and we have patience so that we can reach that level of maturity. We go into new things and we go into things that we've done and things that we want to work on so that we can grow and mature in those things. And because we gain that maturity, because we have the patience to take that process and enjoy that process, we're able to become whole in that situation. And that is what complete means in this particular verse. Because above all else, the whole presence of our faith is for us to become whole. For us to become whole as human beings, we're supposed to love ourselves fully. We're supposed to enjoy the life that God has given us. And we're supposed to take full joy over the things that He has purposed us to do here on this earth. And when we get into those situations where we may mess up or we don't think we're doing all that we're supposed to do, and then we start beating ourselves up over not doing those things or not reaching the level that we know we could do better in, or the level that we at least think that we could do better in, that's where the anxiety comes in. That's where that depression comes in. That's where that sense of helplessness and unsteadiness comes in. And when you understand that God wants us above all else to be perfect, and even if we have these situations to cast our cares on Him, then we can move to a state of wholeness. We can move to a state of contentment and a state of fulfillment. And that's truly what this gospel is about. It's about us, one, being complete, and then two, us being complete with Him. Moving right along, though, the last piece of this verse, right, is that it says that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. And as I read this, I think about Psalms 23, verse 1. And for those who don't know, Psalms 23 was probably one of the most popular songs written by David in the Bible. And he describes God as a shepherd. And verse 1 specifically reads, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing." And what I look at it here over the years, I've had many different beliefs of what this means. But looking at it now, especially with the context of this verse, it makes me realize that David was so confident in God. He was so patient with God. And because he was so patient with God and confident that He was leading him in the right direction, no matter where he was going or what he was doing, he wasn't in the sense of lack. He was always in the sense of peace. And you even get that later on in the song, because he says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me down the path of righteousness for His name's sake." And right here, David is literally saying that God is fulfilling all of his needs. He's giving him the peace over every situation, and God is giving him that peace because David is simply being patient and relying on Him for everything. And I believe that's truly what this whole process of life is. It's simply, realizing at the end of the day that we were put here on this earth for a specific reason. We're supposed to, while we are supposed to work towards that thing, we're not necessarily supposed to beat ourselves up along the way. We're supposed to have perfect patience and peace over the things that we're going through, especially if we know that God is leading us and guiding us. And one of the things that, I've once again would love to cover right here is the fact that because we do these things, we aren't in lack. There may be situations that we go through. There may be things that may come our way and try to hinder us, but because we have patience and we realize this is simply a part of the process, it doesn't affect us in any way. We don't crumble when these situations come because we accept the fact that they just come to grow and develop us as people. And everyone, I think that holistically speaking, if we're all able to get to this point, the world would be so much better place. And then even for us, a lot of us would be holding in things that we're in. We wouldn't have the worriness that we have. We wouldn't always have feelings of anxiety or stress of all of those things, because we would literally be established in perfect peace. And that's the peace that God says that he gives that the world doesn't give. And I think looking at it, that's truly what God means by this. And we can only have that peace because we have patience in him. We have patience in the process that he's taking us through, the patience that he's growing us through, so that we can become the people that he desires us to be. But with that being said, y'all, that's pretty much it. To sum up this episode, if you get nothing else from it, just understand that perfection is something that we cannot achieve, okay? And if you're one of those people who beat yourself up over situations, if you're somebody where you don't necessarily like to fail because you don't want to have any feels associated with it, or you think you could have did better, or you just have guilt because you didn't take actions and stuff that you thought you were supposed to take, get rid of that stuff, please. I'm telling you, from personal senses, I have had so much peace over the past couple weeks because I have started letting that stuff go and giving it up to God. And as I'm talking about this, I'm reminded of the Prayer of Serenity. And it's something that my grandmother used to tell me all the time. And it says that God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And what that simply means is that when it comes to life, there's a lot of things that are out of our control. All right. There's a lot of things we don't know. There are a lot of things we can't do. There's a lot of stuff that we are not responsible for and we don't have control over. But the thing is, we're supposed to have the serenity or the peace to understand and accept that there are just some things that we cannot change. There are things that we don't have effect over. There are things we don't have control over. And there are just some things that we're not going to know. And when you accept those things, I'm telling you, it's a peace that comes over you like crazy. And especially if you're one of those people that is just hard on yourself in situations, because you will fail. But when you understand at the end of the day that this is a process and you'll have peace over it, knowing that, yes, you could have did better, but there's always a next time for you to do better. Everything works out. And then outside of that, the second piece was the courage to change the things that I can change. And one of the biggest realizations that I've had in recent history is, once again, that you cannot change the past. No matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, there is nothing that you can do to go back in time. You do not have that type of power. So the only thing that you can do is realize that you had the mistakes, accept the mistakes that you have, and then put forth the effort and take actionable steps to get better at that thing next time. Don't dwell on that stuff, because that stuff cannot be changed. You can't go back in time and do that. And even in the present time, there may be some situations you just can't make better, but you just have to move forward, keep going, and take the lessons that you learned in that situation to make sure that things are better up ahead. And then last but not least, the ending of that prayer is having the wisdom to know the difference. With that being said, you have to know the things that you can change, the things that you can't change. And when you do that, when you're able to distinguish the two, it just makes life that much better. Because I'm telling you, the last thing you want to do is spend too much time wasting on things that you cannot change, because the outcome will not change. OK, but you can take the time today to work on having a better future. And that's what it means about changing the things that you can change. But you have to first have that wisdom. And if you don't have that wisdom, just say that prayer and ask God to give it to you. And once again, it says, God, grant me the serenity to change, to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I'm telling you, if you say that prayer and you say it repeatedly, God will help you in every situation. All right. Because God has helped me so much in this particular area. But with that being said, y'all, I'm about to get out of here. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. And as I said, go forth and conquer, man. Just understand that life is a process. Don't beat yourself up, and just enjoy the journey that God is taking you on. And with that being said, you all, I love you all so much, and I will talk to you all very soon. All right. My name is Brian Boyd. I'm signing off. Peace.